which is why to bring us to this issue of child welfare, like
Yes.
why such just really amazing opportunity right now for the legislature and Governor Evers. And look, I mean, what we're talking about, and I'll explain it in a second, but what we're talking about is not, it's not like eliminating the income tax, right? It's not like putting universal school choice and expanding our school choice program. It's not that, but for the couple hundred or a couple thousand kids in the foster care system, it's probably more important, right? I mean, it's truly, we as conservatives, when we talk about being pro-family, it's issues like this where you can really impact, and not by growing bureaucracy, not by growing government, but just doing good policy reform. You can impact the future lives and trajectories of a couple hundred or a couple thousand kids. That's very important, and it's something that we started looking at, a year and a half, 2 years ago. Of like, yes, we're always going to be focused on those big items, but in divided government, where is the opportunity to still improve Wisconsin? One family, one kid at a time, instead of just putting things on the governor's desk to get vetoed time after time. So we zeroed in. We talked to some of our counterparts around the country. We zeroed in on an issue that just really spoke to us of improving the child welfare system and improving the lot of kids in foster care. We talked to outside groups. We talked to the governor's team last year. We talked to the Department of Children and Families, and lo and behold, in doing that, again, because we're not talking about those issues that are so easy to break apart into your partisan camps, we were able to find places of agreement with the teams at the Department of Children and Families in Madison. We put forward a report earlier this year that laid out a handful of reforms to improve in the child welfare system and the foster care system. And they actually took a couple of those and put them in their proposals in the state budget. So what we're talking about now are how do we keep those going? Unfortunately, Republicans actually took them out, probably just, I'm assuming, not fully understanding what they were and the fact that they were in the governor's proposal. So they took them out. So the task now is for them, Republicans, to put these couple of items back in, hopefully. But it's, again, really important items for the handful, the couple hundred, couple thousand kids that it will impact. So what are they? The first one deals with when a child is taken from a home and the parental rights are taken away, from the mom and dad. It's for good cause, right? Like, it's because they have issues, they have drug issues, they have, whatever it might be, that the courts decided you are not fit to be a parent. If the parent does everything right and they check every box that is before them to get their kids back and to improve their lives, Wisconsin is still one of just a handful of states. I think we're one of 12 states right now that still allows the fact that you owe money to care for your kids in foster care as a reason not to let you have your kids back. And we think that's just wrong. Like, if you've done everything right, you've turned your life around, you've gone through rehab, you've done everything right, then you're simply knocking on the government's door and saying, okay, I did everything you said, but I do still owe you some money because, yes, I as a parent in that situation, you are charged to pay for the care, right? You have to give child support basically to pay for that foster care. Until you pay that back, the state, in many cases, or the counties, stops you from reunifying with your children. We think that's wrong. We think, again, you've done everything right. Let's put the kids back in their birth home with their parents who love them, and make sure that family can be reunified. So that's one reform that the governor agreed with, put it in the DCF budget, and we need Republicans to put it back in. The second one that we're talking about deals with personal property of kids. There are some kids in the foster care system who are entitled to Social Security benefits, right? That might be because their birth parents passed away. For whatever reason, they are entitled to federal Social Security benefits. the last data that we have is from 2023. There were 577 of these kids, so not a lot. What happens currently is the state essentially takes that money, and they take that money, $700 a month approximately, that those kids are able to receive, and they use that to pay for part of the foster care that those kids receive. Of course, the state doesn't do it for free. They skim about 20% off the top of that $700. And what we're saying, and the governor's team actually agreed to, so this could be another bipartisan win that truly helps some kids, is let's let that 577 kids that are currently receiving Social Security just keep that money. It's their personal property. They never signed off on the government taking it, even if you want to argue that it's being used to pay for their care, and that's laudable. At the end of the day, it's their personal property. They didn't agree for the government to take it. It only funds a small fraction of the total care of the system to begin with. So, you know what? Let's put that into an account. Let's let that grow. When those kids are 18, they will actually have something to their name then, that they can start life as an adult on the right foot, instead of just being kind of tossed out of the system, saying, all right, go get them, guys, but you don't have anything to your name. So those are two simple reforms that, again, they're not necessarily conservative or liberal. We're trying to solve things simply from fixing the bureaucracy, fixing some small items that will give these kids and families a chance to succeed. And it has bipartisan support. We just need Republicans on the Finance Committee to keep it moving and to put it back into the budget.
All right. So you could host the show because you've answered my questions in what you just stated. I mean, I was curious about bipartisanship. I was curious, and it occurred to me, do you have to finesse in order to get bipartisanship? I mean, do you have to, I don't know, touch the hearts of the leftists in the legislature in order to get them to, or is it, even a blind squirrel finds a nut? I mean, I don't know, because it seems to me that there isn't a lot that Republicans and Democrats can come together on, but in this case, this seems like common sense to those of us who are conservative, but I'm thrilled that there is bipartisan support, and as you've indicated, even the governor is willing to agree to this.
When you talk about the governor being Governor Veto, so again, these are small items. They're not going to change the course of Wisconsin, but my goodness, they will definitely change the course of the lives of these kids. And he's agreed. Like he put it in his agency's budget. So if Republicans put it back in and keep it in, the threat of a veto on these items are pretty low. And if he does have a change of heart and veto something that is really meant to help, when we talk about being pro-family as a state, these are the most vulnerable, right? These are the kids who have a bad lot in life. They're in the foster care system. This is a way to help them, either by having, again, very small number, 577 of them 2 years ago, trying to help them have a little bit of a bank account for when they become adults, or in the case of the first reform, where their parents have turned their lives around and are ready. They're there with open arms, saying, "I want my kid back. I'm ready. I've done everything you've said. Government, please reunify us." We're saying, let's do it. Let's not let the fact that you owe money be the reason that you don't have your kid back with you, that child is not back with his or her loving birth parents. So, yeah, these should be simple, easy reforms to get bipartisan wins that everyone in the Capitol can shake hands on, and then go back to your corners and keep fighting about everything else. We're right there on let's fight over the big things, but on these, hopefully we can keep the momentum going and just get them done.
Besides doing the right thing, which is what this legislation is addressing, is there any particular reason or a story about a personal story about an individual that you are aware of, or that perhaps one of our legislators was made aware of, that this is, has become their mission to ensure that these pieces of legislation are signed into law?
You know, when we developed these ones, it wasn't with a particular case or face in mind, I guess. As you just right, it oftentimes it is the case, right? You have something that comes forward, and it's Chris's law or it's Meg's law, and that's what really drives it.
Ooh, I like Meg's law. Keep going.
These really did not come from that. These were just from looking at the laws on the books now, talking to other groups and that deal with the foster care system day in and day out on just identifying kind of just bigger thematic issues that kids and families face. So, and you know, and the two that we brought forward were not all that we brought forward. So when you know, not that we were able to pull some magic and get the governor's team to agree to everything we wanted. We had other reforms that they did not adopt, and we'll keep working on those next year or another day in terms of the child welfare system. Things getting at, you know, getting into like a Children's Bill of Rights, talking about legal counsel for kids in the system, doing some more reforms with child trafficking, things to get at some of those that maybe have more of a face to it, as you were saying now. These ones were just things that, like, dollar and cents made sense, and big picture. Again, it's making sure that we have the opportunity afforded to these kids to truly achieve the American dream here in Wisconsin. And look, if you turn 18 and you've been in the foster care system and you don't have anything to your name at that time, your chance of hitting the success button are not strong, right? Like, you're not set up well for life in that instance. So these are just about helping those kids, making sure that they do have an opportunity to have success, like so many in Wisconsin currently have.
You know, that old adage about a hand up as opposed to a handout. This would
right.
apply.
Well, in this case, it's their money, right? It's
right.
And
minor detail, right?
It's actually their money. So when you look at it from a conservative, like, this is a conservative reform in that this is protecting the personal property rights of these kids. They never signed up or signed off on the government taking their $700 a month. So we're saying, let's stop that. It's, you know, to bring it into like conservative terms, it's the government is taking personal property from these kids. So we're saying, stop that, give it back to the kids. Put it into an account so that it's available for them down the road when they're ready for it. So yeah, I mean, these are reforms that they just make sense. They morally make sense, and there is a strong conservative argument for them in terms of being pro-family and messaging. For conservatives on a pro-family message instead of being just seen as looking at spreadsheets and dollars and cents and, kind of being cold-hearted.
Love that. Well, Chris Rader from Institute for Reforming Government, thanks for joining me this morning. I enjoyed our conversation very much. Look forward to our next one. I know our listeners can check out reforminggovernment.org for more information on your organization. Keep up the great work.
Great. Thanks, Meg. Appreciate you and appreciate your listeners. Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too.
Thank
Bye.
you.